Hey guys, can you hear me? Took me a moment to get audio working. Forgot about part of the setup. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. Thoughts on Nacho's performance? We will get into that in a second. That was a fine night. Thoughts on Eblin versus Battle? I don't have a very high opinion of Battle. So, I mean, I'm going to say Eblin wins, but I don't know. What's her rating on the card? With the controversy, probably like a 4, maybe a 3. Do you think there's a chance Bahamondes fight gets changed to a no contest / DQ? No. They never fix this stuff. It is unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. Yeah, out of 10. Because I think there was just enough bullshit in this card that even though it was mostly entertaining, it was just hard to enjoy it. If that makes any sense. The Douglas KO was insane. Yeah, it was. And the guy in the Discord on live. Yes. I still don't know why he has to get banned, but what do you think of Joel Alvarez versus Amazov? I mean, they're just sacrificing Amazov. Entertaining last 3 fights. Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm not going to say that objectively the night was not fun. If you were to take all the controversy and issues out of the card, it would have been a good card. But with it, personally, I just couldn't really enjoy it. But if you could, that's good. I mean, that's obviously ideal. Oracle, what should I eat? What do you have around you? Costa loses to the light heavyweight guy. Do you think he should rematch Izzy? I don't think Costa's going to go back to middleweight. So I just don't think that is going to be feasible, to be honest. Lopes almost died. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. I'll probably wait like 3 more minutes before I start the official recap. Low-key craving pizza. Seeing Kiesa eating pizza. Fair? Crazy how two WMMA fights got finishes on the same night. It happens very frequently now. People underestimate how many finishes there are in WMMA. Pineapple or no pineapple? I don't personally do pineapple, but whatever makes you happy. O'Neal finish surprised me. The way it happened surprised me. I was not surprised at the actual outcome, but the way it happened did. Whereas Kiesa seemed rigged. See, I would say that, except Price loves to fight as humanly stupidly as possible. Like, just straight up brawls with Nikolai, whatever his last name is. Decides to fight in the clinch with Robbie Lawler, and now tries to grapple with Chiesa, so it's on brand. Don't WMMA have a higher KO rate compared to heavyweights? Yeah, much higher right now. Izzy broke his nose and started just to swing wildly. Yeah, to an extent. Or Bahamondes, man, that was really frustrating to watch. Yeah, I agree. Are you watching Saryukin versus, I don't know how to say his last name, but fair. Probably not. Is PFL on right now? Oracle versus Keith Peterson would be fireworks? Yeah, that would be fun. I would take that fight. Who do you think Pyfer fights next? I don't think this win speaks too loudly for him, given Izzy was willing to stand and trade. I think maybe Kyle Barajo. You see my messages. I switched accounts. Yes, I can see your messages. Or that message. I don't know if you sent anything else. You think, is he just getting old or he lost the will to fight? I'll get into that, but there's definitely some stuff I want to say about it. I will start the official breakdown here. Is this a reasonable size for you guys? I always forget how much to zoom in or not. I think that looks legible. Plus in Musayev potential given he's 36. I'll get to that. That's good, more zoom. Alright, I'll do a little bit more zooms. That should be good. Alright. So, starting with Alexia Thainara versus Bruna Brasil. This one's about, I think, as most of us who know who Bruna Brasil is expect. It very much looked like Bruna could have won the fight, just decides not to. I'm not too high on Thainara's potential, to be honest, because she just does weird stuff. Like, she could have won this in a very straightforward manner, but she was insistent on putting herself in, like, weird positions where all of a sudden she's at kicking range with Brasil, or, like, she's trading knees in the pockets with someone who loves trading knees. So Thainara is not bad, but she is very much a weight bully, and I don't know, I just don't think she's going to get that far, to be honest. I think she's, like, in 1 to 2 fights from now, probably a fade. And yeah, that kick at the end of the fight, you change the position by 2 inches, and that's a highlight reel knockout. So, yeah, obviously there's a lot of close calls, but her defense is not spectacular, to say the least. Now, the controversial fight with Simone Yanez scoring, I don't have the same opinion as a lot of people do. Now, that being said, I actually did personally score it for Yanez. But I scored it for Yanez because I thought that Ricky Simone won round 1 in the last 30 seconds. I thought it was a very close round until the last 30 seconds, and then he hurt Yanez and took the rounds. Round 2, however, despite the takedowns, I thought Yanez did a little bit more damage in the round, and I gave round 2 to Yanez, and then obviously round 3 was round 3. Now, do I think that round 3 was really a 10-8? Not really. I mean, it was kind of close. Do I hate a 10-8? No. But I don't think it really should count as a 10-8 if a lot of other things did not count as 10-8s. So, for example, what's his name? The Ija fight against, whatever his name is. That was like a very clear 10-8. If that doesn't get a 10-8, I don't know how this does get a 10-8. But anyways, so yeah, I did think that round, like, there's a world where you can give Ricky Simone the first 2 rounds. I'm not, like, terribly shocked about that. I think that, yeah, round 2 is more of the swing round than round 1 was, though, in all honesty. Reason it's a 10-8 is because fight would have been stopped is not the timer. But that's not something that is in the criteria for what a 10-8 is. If we wanted to make that part of the criteria, I would agree with that, but it's not the written criteria. Commentary was absolutely terrible this fight. They were acting like Yanez clearly won round 1 as if it was 2-0 Yanez in round 3. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what that was. Like, both the first 2 rounds were competitive, but you could argue both to Simone, and you could argue, and I thought it was properly should have been a 1-1. But yeah, I don't know why commentary was so insistent that Yanez got round 1. I did not think that that was the case. But anyways, moving on to Sterling versus Lopes, the first fight that ever made me scream online. Yeah, so this was Keith Peterson, right? I don't know how, like, does anyone know the timestamp for when Lopes got dropped for the first time or, like, was rocked against the fence in round 2? Because I was saying it went on for 2 minutes. Looking at the time at which this was stopped, I almost feel like it might have been 3 minutes, where Lopes got knocked out, like, pretty much 5 times over. Okay, just in terms of evaluating the performance before we even get into that. Sterling has no power. I don't know what it is. Lopes is a very, very finishable guy. When other people touch him, he just dies. When Sterling is blasting him, he's still okay somehow. So, Sterling is very technically sound. His takedown defense looks spectacular. His technical striking is pretty good. I'm not going to say the best because he's a little bit slow. But the fact that he's able to stay strong and keep up the volume for full 3 rounds does make him a viable prospect, in my opinion. Just the lack of power is kind of astonishing. Bruno Lopes, you have to cut. He's absolutely useless. That being said, I feel bad for him here because no one should have to take that much damage. Like, there was no way he was coming back in the fight. I thought when he got rocked against the fence for the first time, it should have been stopped right there. And then when he actually went down, it's like, okay, you could stop it now. And then like the 3 to 4 times after it, he was very, very clearly out. I just genuinely want to know what Keith Peterson was seeing. And what I would like to have happen is if these refs have a terrible stoppage, which they do so frequently, they have to publicly explain their thought process through the stoppage while like the film is playing. And if they cannot justify what they were seeing, they need to just be fired immediately. And to be in this situation, you can't justify it. It was that bad. But I don't know. I think that needs to become a standard protocol because the only ref who I've seen publicly talk about their mistakes is Jason Herzog, which makes Herzog a little bit more likable in my opinion, even if he makes mistakes. Because if he makes a mistake, he's at least going to acknowledge it and be like, that was a mistake. Fair enough. And Herzog also hasn't pulled bullshit like this where he's getting a fighter nearly killed as well. So, yeah, Peterson needs to just be gone. It's genuinely abysmal. Yeah, I don't think Sterling has a single fast twitch muscle fiber. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Peterson should be put on trial for roughing 100%. Dominic Cruz is apparently praising Keith for allowing him to recover. He's so biased from a pseudo stoppage. That was painful to listen to. I hated it so much. Any thoughts on Adrian Yanez versus Ricky Simone? I thought Yanez was 3-0. I just went over that. I don't hate the scoring, even though I did think it was 2-1 to Yanez. Navo took him to round 2. I don't think he's that good. He's just very much a point fighter. So, I don't know. They need a ranking system for refs to keep doing good to stay at the top of fights. Yeah, maybe. Cruz is so salty. Yeah, especially after seeing that whole thing, it makes me like him a lot less. But anyways, moving on to Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandes. So, I thought that... So, I had a bet on Casey O'Neill by TKO. So, obviously, I was happy with this outcome. A lot of the people in the server also tailed that. So, you got that at somewhere between plus 700 to plus 900 if you took it. However, I expected it to come off of a lot of heavy pressure and then ground and pound. I did not think it would be like, oh, I'm actually going to rock you off of one punch and then TKO you type of thing. So that was a very impressive performance from Casey O'Neill. It was a good stylistic matchup because Gabriel Fernandes cannot fight moving forwards, and she didn't really have a choice because if she moved backwards against O'Neill, she was going to get drowned. So I'm not going to say like, oh, she pulled an upset in something that should have been impossible for her by any means. But to see that type of power kind of out of nowhere to some extent. She's always been able to finish fights, but it usually took accumulation before. I am very impressed, and I do want to see her fight up and hopefully be more active in the future because that was fun. All right. Moving on to Tyrell Fortune versus Marcin Tybura. We'll get to the whole announcing thing in a second. Just evaluating this fight, it was a pretty close fight. It was one of those fights you kind of like zone out while watching, in my opinion. I don't know, maybe you guys were different with it, but you see a round end and you're like, huh, who won that round? Except round 1. Round 1 was pretty clear. Rounds 2 and 3 were pretty close. I thought Tybura should have taken round 3. Fortune should have taken round 1. Round 2, it was like, yeah, I think Fortune took it. I'm not upset with the score by any means, but it was a pretty close round overall. I don't think Fortune really has much potential realistically. I mean, his best excuse is this was short notice, and that is somewhat fair, although at heavyweight, I don't feel like it factors in as much. But he couldn't do much to Tybura on the feet. He got the takedowns and then couldn't really do anything there. It was just a very, very mediocre heavyweight-like performance. So, not very excited for either of them. I feel like maybe now you do Tyrell Fortune versus Walter Walker, maybe? I don't know, like something along those lines. I don't really know what you do for like Tybura, who's now lost 2 in a row, and it's just, I mean, now like you can't even have him fight a prospect because there are no prospects. So I don't know what we're doing, but oh well. In terms of the whole scorecards thing, I have no idea how they screwed that up. People are asking me like, did they give him the scorecards reversed? Did Bruce Buffer just pull some weird BS? I have no idea. Terrible for the fighters because Tybura thought he won, Fortune thought he lost. To have that flipped, especially for Tybura, has got to really suck. But yeah, I mean, just on brand with UFC tonight, with everything being a mess in terms of the actual production and all of that. Tybura versus Spivak 3 in the Apex, yeah, valid. These guys don't train. It feels like heavyweights don't train, yeah. Normal heavyweight fight, yeah, exactly. Low Oracle, hey. My only takeaway is Buffer's watched her. Let's see Tybura versus Hawk at Oracle, who you got? Oh, I'd take Hawk at TKO there. Ojo or Zalal? I'll have to do tape for that, I have no idea. Alright, moving on to Lance Gibson Jr. versus Chase Hooper. First big upset of the night, odds-wise. And I can't say I'm shocked, because Hooper's just... he's not really good at anything except the pure BJJ. And especially after watching this one, and to be fair, I think we all kind of thought that after watching his last fight as well. After watching this fight, I'm like, how have you not trained more in terms of the takedown so that you can actually incorporate your skill set? Because your striking kind of sucks, which is fine. Like, you're a grappler, right? You don't have to have amazing striking. But your striking kind of sucks. Then your wrestling kind of sucks. And if your wrestling kind of sucks, well, then what are you going to do with your... you can't use your BJJ. His distance management is still pretty garbage. He just hangs onto a single leg and does absolutely nothing with it. Like, he's kind of weak for 155, which we saw here. Has definitely not a good chin for 155, which was on clear display as well. So I don't think Chase Hooper has a future, realistically speaking. Maybe he can change something and turn it around. He'd have to do a lot of wrestling training, but he doesn't have like he just doesn't have a build for MMA, honestly. He's not strong enough. It's weird to say, but it's like, okay, you can have the Chase Hooper build if you're a striker, right? Then you turn into kind of like an O'Malley type, or like a what's his name, Roman Kopylov type. But if you're a grappler, it doesn't really work well. I don't know. Hooper versus John Silva, who wins? I mean, John Silva for sure. Can Hooper get a TRT exemption? Yeah, he'd pretty much need that. He's just not athletic anywhere. He's just not quick enough anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Does Tyra finish Hooper? Probably, to be honest. It's the same thing with Patty and Shem, Elite BJJ, but they don't shoot or just train wrestling. I feel like it's even worse, because Patty is strong. He just has terrible wrestling. Hooper is just weak, and he has terrible wrestling. So it's a bigger problem. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he has the frame to put on muscle, but maybe he can. I don't know. Is what it is. Hooper didn't goon enough, apparently. Alright. Moving on to Musayev versus Bahamondes. And I'm just going to say this straight up. I want to see Musayev get absolutely flatlined in the most brutal fashion possible. I'm hoping they give him Torres, and we can see something fun there. This was just disgusting, right? Like, Bahamondes basically finished him, and that should have been called a TKO when he put all 10 fingers into the fence to survive. And then he uses the 10 fingers into the fence to help reverse position, get the takedown, and then is just landing headbutts to open up cuts. Like, what are we doing here? Like, first of all, what is the ref seeing? And second of all, why is Musayev not banned from MMA already? Like, I genuinely... I do want to see him fight again so he can get absolutely destroyed, but he should not be fighting again. So, yeah, criticism of Bahamondes, he needs to get better at getting up from the bottom. That's always been an issue for him. Even though his takedown defense is good, if he does get taken down, he just goes for subs and kind of lays on his back. That is bad. However, he would have destroyed and he would have finished Musayev in round 2 if Musayev wasn't cheating nonstop. So I can't really say anything else about that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Bahamondes won by second round TKO. Do you think the UFC should have the ability to retroactively deduct points for horrible fouls, or have another person cage side look at the monitor like fouls? Yeah, I think also if a foul is bad enough, someone cage side should just be able to immediately DQ. Like, that needs to become a normalized thing. McKinney versus Musayev next, please. That would be great. Musayev versus Francis Nganaboka. Yeah, please. There's actually a good chance for Torres versus Musayev is not chosen near the top 15. That would be good. I would hope so. Bahamondes is way too comfortable just trying subs ultimate. Yeah, for sure. Turner versus Musayev. Yeah, that would be great as well. Any of those things. Is Keith Peterson roughing the Bahamondes fight? That'd be funny, but no, it was someone else. How would you rate Bahamondes' work off his back? I mean, he has decent sub attempts, right? But you just can't be spamming sub attempts and not get up when you're primarily a striker. So he should have just immediately been working his way back to the feet, not trying to go for submission. For him to celebrate like he won that fight was disgraceful, yeah. This fight should have its result overruled, but I doubt it. Yeah, I agree. Ribovics versus Musayev. I think Ribovics would win, but it would probably be a decision, and I don't want it to be a decision. I think the sub attempts were useless. He was so slick from blood. Yeah, especially after the blood was opened up, then it was just not ideal. Tom Nolan versus Musayev would be good. Who got Oracle? Tom Nolan does get clipped a lot, so I'm not confident in him there. But yeah, I don't know. I would rather Musayev fight someone who's actually going to destroy him. All right, moving on to Terrence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. I mean, this one is about as you expect, right? Nelson's not really good at anything. McKinney, in the first 2.5 minutes of round one, is potentially the most dangerous lightweight in the world. So there's not much I can analyze. Yeah, I mean, like that is what you would think it would be. So good job for McKinney. Kyle Nelson is just always going to be kind of the bottom of the barrel, just barely UFC quality, if so. McKinney, it's weird because you're always going to have this rubber band with McKinney. Now McKinney has to fight up again, and the question is, can he fight up again? McKinney versus Musayev. Yeah, I'd like McKinney versus Musayev, right? And then McKinney probably wins that, hopefully. Musayev versus Yam just to punish him. That'd be hysterical. McKinney was plus 160 round one. Yeah, true. What is McKinney lacking to level up? I mean, a few things. One, his chin is really questionable, and you can't really fix that, but he needs to compensate with better defense. His defense is, in most part, his offense, which is tough if you can't put the person out immediately. So we saw against Chris Duncan, right? He was just styling on Duncan until he couldn't put him out, and then just got rocked because one thing from Duncan did what 30 shots from McKinney were doing. His cardio also is a big problem. To some extent, yes, it is pacing, but if you're going to maintain that pace, which is possible to do for at least like a round and a half, or I would say, then you need to be able to do that. You can't just gas out after 2.5 minutes. It's not going to work. But yeah, we'll see what McKinney does next. Depending on the matchup, he's either going to highlight reel them or get highlight reeled again. All right, moving on to Yusri Belgaroui versus Mansour Abdul Malik. So I still don't have the highest opinion of Belgaroui. You can call me crazy. I just was not impressed with either fighter tonight. I don't know why Malik waited until the end of round 2 to start shooting when that was like his clearest path to victory. Belgaroui's ability to get back to the feet when he's down is solid. Don't get me wrong. That is definitely a good skill set. On the feet, though, I'm just still not impressed because his movement on the outside is solid, yeah, but all he can really do is jab and calf kick for like 8 minutes of the fight, and then once that kind of starts getting to a bit, okay, then he starts picking it up a little bit. But I still think he's very hittable, which we saw against Musayev when Musayev landed like a pretty big overhand on him for no clear reason. And I still think that if you are a good wrestler, the entries are there if you pressure him properly. So it's also a problem because Belgaroui is not exactly young. They have to give him a step up now, probably, but I'm not the highest on his future. Malik still has potential, but I don't know what he's doing in half of his fights. Like fights he should wrestle early, he doesn't, and then this is kind of reminiscent of the Cody Brundage fight, except Belgaroui is obviously going to be able to pick at you much better than Cody Brundage is. So I don't really know where either of them go next from here. I feel like UFC is probably going to sacrifice Belgaroui to someone they think can beat him. I don't know who that's going to be. We'll have to see. Monster couldn't defend leg kicks nor close the distance. Yeah, his what's it called? His cage cutting was not good, to say the least. Plug the betting service for future events. I will when we probably get through the breakdown, but I appreciate the reminder. McKinney has never gotten a UFC bonus before, which is insane. Yeah, it is. McKinney was fighting 155 pounds on Strickland. 155 pounds Sean Strickland without any defense. Belgaroui has the same chin in the air defense as Alex, but isn't Alex. Yeah, he has the same chin in the air defense, except with less movement and without the power. So Alex can kind of pull people in and counter them, but Belgaroui can't really do that because he doesn't have power. He has to hit you a lot of times to hurt you at all. Malik is another Omar Sy, maybe. But at least, I will praise Malik in one way. Even though this was absolutely a garbage performance, he didn't quit on himself. Like Omar Sy, any time in adversity, he checks out. Malik at least was going for it the entire time. So, fair play to him. He at least went out on his shield, which I do kind of respect. Thoughts on Izzy versus Belgaroui trilogy? They could do that. I just don't think the UFC is going to want to because there's no beneficiary for that. Like, they're both old. But it could be fun. Only finishes on the main card I misses. Yeah. He's Alex Pereira light. Yeah, pretty much. Belgaroui looks better and better every fight. That's when he was using teeps to keep range and punish the punches whenever they got close. I mean, is he improving a little bit? I'm sure, I would hope so at least, but he's still so hittable. It's just, I really don't like it. And he's one of those guys that, like, I'm willing to be wrong about until I'm right about. Just in the sense that I don't like his style, and I just don't think it is good. Belgaroui just doesn't have the power to be a true high-level threat. Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe if he had more power, he could be. Alex versus Khalil too. Huh. UFC doesn't believe Belgaroui. He's getting somewhat dangerous opponents early into his career. Gaudier still fighting cans, for example. Yeah. Honestly, maybe they do Belgaroui versus Gaudier, which would be interesting because if Gaudier hasn't fixed his issues from last fight, he'll definitely lose. But if he has, he'll definitely win. I would kind of like to see that. Belgaroui is friends with Alex, they're probably going to like him. It's still conditional per fighter because Belgaroui is too old starting to really be useful for them. Do you think Belgaroui would beat RDR? No. And also, if Belgaroui had more power, he definitely would. But because he doesn't have the power to put out RDR, I think RDR would get the single takedown he needs. Fluffy and Allen is easy to fight streak for Izzy. I'm not sure about that, to be honest, but we'll get to that. All right, I'll move on to the next fight before I talk about this for like the entirety of the stream. All right, so moving on to Douglas versus Julian Erosa. Now, Douglas had the best proper performance on the card, in my opinion. Like, McKinney technically had the best performance, but that was a typical McKinney thing. Douglas, this was the debut you want from a fighter like Douglas. Yeah, I mean, he could do no wrong in this fight. Everything he was throwing was stunning Erosa. He has so much power in everything he throws. And people were saying, like, oh, does Erosa just have no chin? Like, no, usually when Douglas hits someone, they go out cold. So Erosa was actually taking his shots much better than all the previous fighters Douglas has fought were. I will say something in terms of his weaknesses, though. Douglas, when he gets excited, overswings so badly that I feel like a better fighter will punish that. But if he's fighting someone who has to pressure you and fight in the pocket like Erosa, absolute like free win, free highlight for him. So good performance from him. Excited to see what he's going to do next. Erosa's always fun. And I mean, he's lost 2 in a row, but one was very competitive against Melky. So nothing bad against Erosa, right? He's just going to lose these types of fights. He's the type of guy who's always going to give you a entertaining fight, win or lose. Nothing against that. He should probably be booked against another prospect and we see what happens. I'm forgetting what prospects we have at 145 right now, but whoever they want to push next and we see if they can turn them back or not. Don't forget Belgaroui couldn't get signed after 2 Innowates Contender Series fights. Yeah, exactly. It's like UFC really does not like him. Belgaroui versus Gaudier is a high stake fight. Yeah, it'd be fun. What should Adesanya do to improve? He needs to figure out how to cage cut, first of all. Dropping someone 3 times in a row with your jab is insane. Yeah, that was interesting to watch. It was definitely a good performance. Douglas versus Onama. That would be fun. Yeah, I think Douglas could probably beat Onama. Danny Silva. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, actually, that's a great fight. They should do Erosa versus Danny Silva. That would be really fun. I think Douglas has the record for the most knockouts by Chapman. To be fair, I don't think they were technically knockdowns here, but he was definitely rocking every time he did touch him with the jab. All right, moving on to Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. This was just so on brand for Nico Price that I can't even say I'm surprised. Like, so as I was saying in the beginning of the stream, Nico Price decides to brawl with Nikolai. He decides to fight in the clinch with Robbie Lawler, and now he decides to try to wrestle with Michael Chiesa. So, no, I don't think it was rigged. I think he just has a specimen of a brain. And that went about as how you would expect for someone trying to wrestle with Chiesa, who's not a spectacular wrestler. So, I mean, good matchup for Chiesa to end his career. Congratulations to him. I mean, even though, again, he never hit the real next level, I would say most of his fights were fairly young. He had were relatively fun. He had some pretty good highlights in there. I think he's the only person to sub Dariush, or at least the only person in the UFC to sub Dariush, which is pretty crazy. And he also dropped Masvidal, which is absolutely insane to me. But yeah, Price is probably gone from the UFC, and he had a relatively fun career also until the last few fights, at least. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, we'll be seeing Chiesa in commentary anyways, so it's not like he's that gone. Nico versus Michael Chandler versus Fight IQ. Nico definitely has worse Fight IQ. MMA fans will hate on Van for becoming champion for free, but forget about Musayev celebrating. Yeah, Musayev celebrating is far worse than like Van celebrating a win without fouls that got him the belt, right? Like, there's nothing, like, you could not like the fact that Van won by injury. That's all in good, but Musayev is celebrating being like a terrible person, basically. It's just, I don't even know what else to say. Oh, Price retired too? I didn't even see that. Okay, got you. Nico Price, the retirement lamb. Yeah, exactly. All right, anyways, moving on to Grasso versus Macy Barber. This is one of those fights, and I will get to the analysis in a second, that I don't know if I've just like been watching MMA for too long or what the deal is, but these are the fights that make me feel old, because I did not like seeing that. It was a great performance from Grasso, don't get me wrong. I just did not like seeing Macy that out. And I love highlight reel finishes. It's just that one was disturbing. And we've had some of these recently where it's just like, first of all, I don't know why they kept the camera on her. That was just really unnecessary. Like, why are you showing her while she's out? It's just, you can pan away. You can go to ads in that situation, right? That's fine. I didn't like seeing it. Getting into the actual performance, though, I mean, Grasso looked good. I mean, her boxing has always been probably best in the weight class, as they were saying after the fight. And her power has definitely developed later into her career. I would say her last, like, 3 to 4 fights, we're seeing actual, like, fight-ending power from her, which is nice. If she can keep fights on the feet, she's going to beat most people. I think the real question is what would happen between her and Menon Furo. Because they're probably the two, I'm not going to say best strikers after like Valentina did outstrike Menon, but they're close to the best strikers in the division. So the boxing between those two is really going to decide, in my opinion, who needs to be pushed for the next title shot. Yeah, in the meantime, Natalia Silva can get it. I'm not really high on her chances against Valentina, especially after what we saw last fight. But I do think Grasso versus Menon would be a very fun fight. And it was disturbing, yeah. Yeah, I just did not like the cameras on her. It's crazy. I wonder how badly injured Barber is. Do you think she comes back from this? She looked good at the start, but should have grappled earlier. Yeah, I don't know why she was trying to stand with Grasso for pretty much half a round. If she wanted to win this, again, her path was shoot pretty much immediately. And it was a viable path to victory, because we've seen Grasso gets caught into just going for stuff from guard that's really not there. But yeah, Barber is like, her striking is not that technical. It's very powerful. It's just never developed to be technical enough. But Oh, they gave us. They said that was a TKO, not a submission. Interesting. I mean, to be fair, yeah, either way is kind of fine. I will say, good on Beltran for realizing she was out, because if that was Keith Peterson, she would have literally died there. I don't know what else to say about that. But yeah, he identified immediately that she was done. So good on good on Beltran, yes, for stopping that. Beltran saved her life. Yeah, 100%. Where are you picking Silva to beat Shevchenko? Yeah, before the Rosenami Humans fight, I thought that there was a possibility that she would. And then after seeing that, I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. TKO, in my opinion, she got slept and put in a choke. It was already. Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine either way. Beltran, the one ref without mental issues right now. It seems like it. Getting choked while KO'd could have given her instant brain necrosis. That's scary stuff. I don't know. Bahamondes versus Musayev got fight of the night. Insane. I don't even know what to say about that now. Whatever. So, moving on to the main event. So, I will say something about Izzy that a lot of people don't seem to realize. After the, I'm blanking on names, the Jan Blachowicz fight, Izzy put on a bunch of weight. He wanted to have more power. He wanted to have the ability to stuff the takedowns and stuff like that. So he ended up adding a lot of muscle mass. Now that did three things, I should say. Yes, it increased his knockout power. He definitely was able to hit harder. But it did two other things. One is that he had a lot more trouble making weight, which we were definitely visibly seeing for this fight, where he used to basically not cut weight at all. And then two, he gasses out a lot faster now. So a lot of people were confused why he kind of just started brawling at the end of round 2. His boxing defense already is not great, as we've been over many times. And then he started slowing down, and his boxing defense started getting worse and worse. So then when he saw the opportunity to maybe finish Pyfer, he was like, okay, I've got to go for this now. I was expecting Pyfer to gas out a lot faster, and based on what we've seen, I still think that was the right call. But yeah, no, Izzy was gassing out. He had to go for more aggressive trades, and he started getting clipped, and then that ended how you'd expect with Pyfer. So I do think it was a reasonable performance from Pyfer. I think that Adesanya is still pretty high level, but Adesanya not retiring there is kind of rough because, yeah, I mean, he's on a, 3 or 4 fight losing? 4 fight losing streak. He's on a 4 fight losing streak, and they're just going to feed him to like maybe RoboCop or something like that. Not that he can't beat RoboCop. He might be able to, but he could also get slept pretty badly. And it's like the fighters have to understand at a certain point when it's time to walk away. The fact that he was trying to grapple with Pyfer says a lot about his fight IQ. I don't think he was really trying to grapple with Pyfer. I think he was just trying to put the fight in a situation where he didn't have to deal with it anymore. Who can beat Pyfer in the top 6 and 7 at middleweight? Probably Imavov, Strickland, those people. I feel most times when fighters try bulking, it doesn't work out well. Yeah, agreed. Izzy's knee was filthy. Yeah, it was definitely, he did very well in round 1. Do Izzy versus RoboCop next? Yeah, exactly. I think that'll happen. You talk about why you hate MVP. That's, I think I talked about in the previous stream, or 2 streams ago rather. Izzy reminds me of your take on Moreno. He burned himself out and had nothing to fight for after he finally beat Pereira. Fair. I think it's a little bit different though, because Moreno took a lot of damage against Figgy. And that trilogy was something that, in my opinion, took something out of Moreno that he wasn't able to get back. Even though, of course, Adesanya technically got TKO'd in the first Pereira fight, he didn't take crazy damage. I don't feel like those fights took anything out of him. I think it was just, some of it was the bulking, some of it was the fact that the skill level and division caught up, because let's remember, Izzy's title defenses are like Marvin Vettori, right? Jared Cannonier is a half decent title defense, but the fact that Marvin Vettori was fighting for a title honestly says a lot. Pyfer versus Morales, who had 185, who would win? I'd have to relook at Morales' striking. I don't know, honestly. love to see Izzy become an analyst slash commentator. He's a fun personality, and I'm tired of Joe in DC. He might do well with that, fair. CLD versus Izzy would be a cool kickboxing match. Yeah, I think Izzy would probably beat CLD because CLD is just going to try to go for too much crazy stuff, and it will be problematic for him when Izzy's just more technical. Pyfer versus Strickland's after he gets choked out by Chimaev would be fun, similar personalities. I do think Strickland is more alive against Chimaev than people are expecting, but we'll have to see what happens there. Pyfer is not jet material. Not yet, probably, but some fighters are able to make a step up at a certain point in their career. Is he at 205 best choice? No. He could. I mean, he could try that, sure. It would make the cut easier as well. Izzy versus Dolidze next. I don't think UFC's going to do that one. Why was Izzy wincing so badly when Pyfer got the body lock? Was he injured? I don't know exactly what happened. I think that when Pyfer landed the overhands, there's a chance it like broke something in Izzy's face. I think this Izzy is technically better than Championship Izzy. It's possible. I think they're pretty similar, in all honesty. I can see how Pyfer beats Ellen, Kyle, and Imavov, but what game plan could he use with Sean? I mean, Strickland's a nightmare matchup for him. I don't think he could beat Strickland, to be honest, but maybe he could pull something out. Keep this alive going so I can fall asleep to this. We'll see how long I can go. Pyfer versus Brawlho. I mean, I'd have to look at the fight more and like Brawlho's tendencies. It's not a terrible matchup for Pyfer, though. How do you think Prime Luke Rockhold fares versus Pyfer? I feel like Luke's BJJ was phenomenal, but I feel like he would get caught. Yeah, it's not a great matchup for Luke because he would just get caught by something at some point and just get slipped badly. Izzy would beat Rakic easily, but Rakic's a heavyweight now, right? Broken nose, I think that's also possible. Do you think Izzy gasses from his cardio being bad or his weight cut being brutal? I mean, it's a combination, right? A bad weight cut makes your cardio worse. And putting on muscle in general is going to make your cardio worse. Pyfer using his grappling more is good. He has very good BJJ. Agreed, yeah. Belgaroui versus Dolidze, who would even win that? Maybe I'd lean Belgaroui because I don't know if like Dolidze will get in on a proper takedown, but he might. Like, I don't know. It's a tough call. Izzy versus Shara, maybe it's too big of a reach rankings-wise. That would be kind of weird because Shara's still unranked, right? Top of his nose was flat. Interesting, fair. DDP or Imavov? I'd probably lean DDP. Pyfer's still overrated, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if you can call him overrated when he came in as the underdog here, right? You could say you don't think he is championship quality or anything, but I wouldn't say people are rating him higher than what he is. Pyfer beats Strickland, do you think? No, I'd pick Strickland. Luke get KO'd by a jab from Pyfer? Yeah, for sure. Izzy somehow grew a chin, felt like. Well, I mean, Izzy's always had a good chin. Right? He's taken a lot of damage. Or I shouldn't say he's taken a lot of damage, but he's been able to take singular big shots before. He took a few from Alex, all right. He did not go out cold from a full power Imavov overhand. He took a lot of big shots off DDP. Strickland, of course, dropped him, but like he was able to recover. So we haven't seen Adesanya ever go out cold in MMA. And the overhands that Pyfer was landing in round 2 would have put a lot of other people out cold. So he's still pretty durable. Izzy versus MVP, both retire. I mean, that wouldn't be a terrible idea, but it would probably be a really boring fight. Kyle versus Pyfer and Imavov versus DDP is probably the fight to make. Yeah, I agree. I like how Joe forced it to be dirty and was able to fix the takedowns and the brawling. Yes, I think one thing, for some reason, a lot of people don't realize about Izzy, though, is if you're going to take him down, you have to do it in the open. Like, against the fence, his takedown defense is great. In the open, as we saw with DDP, and also with one of the takedowns in this fight, his takedown defense is not spectacular. It's a massive difference, and not enough people have exploited that. 6.66 thousand subs. Yeah, true. Do you agree with the narrative that Izzy's whole career is extremely overrated? Like, I love the guy for sure, but he's not that great. He robbed you all and drop. Yeah, so I've always been someone who said Izzy's not as good as people think he is. Because again, the quality of his competition was like a Brad Tavares, a Marvin Vittori. Like the best person he beat is definitely Alex, but it was a drained Alex. And then before that, it's the questionable decision over Whitaker. And then before that, it's like, okay, questionable decision over Romero. And went to a close decision, almost got finished by Gastelum. Went to a 29-28 with a 50-year-old Anderson Silva, right? It's just his whole resume is not spectacular. Every time he really took a step up, like he fought championship time Jan, and Jan smoked him. The Alex fights were close, of course, but then he fought Strickland. Strickland smoked him. Fought DDP. I wouldn't say DDP smoked him, but finished him. And then Imavov smoked him, and so on. How'd the Algo do on best today? Not great. Because I had Mansur, so not ideal. I did fine on my bets myself. I think most of us did pretty well because I had Pyfer in rounds 1 to 3, as well as O'Neal TKO, so that made up for it. And Douglas TKO was great. But algorithm, I'm going to do some patches for it. Timeline update on Strat 3. So I would love to get it done by the next event. I don't know if that's realistic, so I'm going to more so target 2 events from now. We will see exactly what happens, how much progress I'm able to make, and so on. But I'm ideally going to target 2 events from now. When they're slending your go Penelope, right? Fair. Fight for an under 3 and Douglas TKO saved me. Yeah, exactly. I'm down because I overexposed. I'm not sure I should have listened to you. It happens, and that was also just bullshit. Like, he should have had the TKO in round 2, so, I mean, it's an unlucky. But yes, always diversify your exposure because stuff like that does happen, unfortunately. Pyfer losing to Hermanson in hindsight is such a weird loss, especially since Hermanson got put out cold in his next 2. Hermanson, especially at that point in his career, was just one of those guys that he could definitely give prospects a very hard time. Like Usman's resume, 2 times Colby, 2 times Masvidal, and Burns. Yeah, I do think Colby is not as bad as people think he is, to say the least, right? I still think he would have beaten a lot of guys if he had kept going in his prime. But yeah, I mean, there are similarities there for sure. Can you explain what Strat 3 is and how much of a difference it will be? I mean, it's basically the next iteration of the algorithm. I'm looking to make it a massive step up for sure. We'll see how big of a difference it ends up being, though. DDP should train with Burns and some high-level wrestlers in order to beat Chimaev in the rematch. High-level wrestlers, for sure. He just needs to really have people who are at the level of Chimaev, if not higher, and learn how to stuff their takedowns. How high are you on Prime Whitaker? I mean, I like Whitaker, but I still don't think he was that good, to be honest. Just remember that we have to sit through a stinker of a card before 327. I mean, hopefully it's entertaining. We'll see what it is. Izzy's quality is comparable to Silva's, if not worse, in its modern MMA. Yeah, I think it's actually worse. Like, as much as Chael Sonnen can be a bit of a meme, I actually think that's a better win than most of Izzy's. I would say, who else? I'd say Dan Henderson's a pretty good win. I mean, let's see this. Yeah, Vitor Belfort's a pretty solid win. Damian Maia's a solid win. Henderson. Rich Franklin's a reasonable win. Nate Marquardt, okay. Like, it's kind of similar to Adesanya in ways, but at least it was higher volume, and there's like a few standout names there. Prime Izzy versus Prime Usman. I'd probably lean Izzy. Brian Battle's about to fight. Can you tune in and let's watch together? Okay, I guess we're doing our first PFL reaction stream. Is PFL still on ESPN? Actually, I don't even have ESPN anymore. Why am I asking that? All right, let's see. I mean, if Brian Battle is able to beat Johnny Eblin, they might as well just give up on like PFL because that means like PFL as a whole is worse than what's it called? Than like unranked UFC, which is very possible to be fair. Brian Battle already taken down 3 times. Yeah, shocker. Uh, I cannot find it. Is Brian Battle just getting mauled? I'm not like surprised if he is. All right, I found something. All right, let's see. I think that we're just going to be watching Brian Battle get mauled for 15 minutes, but if Eblin can find a finish, that's the only real question at this point, unless he could find some like crazy fluke. Battle having no takedown defense as usual. Yeah, I mean, Battle's just not very high level, to be honest. Battle's gotten slammed on his head 3 times. Wild. Armin destroyed. I don't know his name is, but fair. Check Discord. Okay, I'll check Discord. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oh, is it over? Wait, what? That's just embarrassing. Oh my god. All right, I mean, at least that makes sense, right? Like, Evelyn definitely should smoke Brian Battle. All right, okay, so that's anticlimactic. W Brian Battle for not wasting too much of her time. Valid. Best reaction stream of all time. Yeah, I get into the thing and he taps immediately. That's insane. Remember when people were saying Eblin would be top 5 UFC middleweight? Yeah, no. I mean, I maybe he could be ranked, but like top 5. Didn't Eblin lose recently as well? Yeah, he lost to what's his Uh, the guy who just beat, I think, Fabian Edwards. On Steelers, I think, right? Yeah, on Steelers. Yeah, yeah. Pyfer was just sorry, not Pyfer. Battle was just a sacrificial lamb. All right. Okay, I'll answer a few more questions, then we'll probably sign off. Manuel Torres versus Usman Nurmagomedov. Who are you backing? Manuel Torres. Battle has won the worst 7-1 records I have seen in the UFC. Valid. I hate when people say MMA fighters would lose in a street fight because there are no rules. Yeah, I mean, obviously they can use groin kicks in a street fight as well. Like, I met Battle cool guy, but he lied to me. Not gonna lie, lied to you about what? 7 hours straight, maybe someday. Is Hamzat sub Strickland due to Strickland's discontent with being on bottom? JDM DP wanted to be safe and accept positions. When Wakano tried to get versus Islam, his neck was taken. I don't think he's going to get subbed. I think that the problem for him is he could lose a decision, of course. But I think that Strickland's BJJ is a lot better than people, for some reason, want to remember. DDP versus Yuri and Hamzat. I mean, DDP obviously would have to get much better. I'm confused what you're asking. He missed weight by like 10 pounds in clinch Randy Brown. Yeah, and got a robbery win as well. He told me he was ready to fight but missed weight. Oh, okay. Do you think Usman could be top 5? In what? In UFC? No. Have you ever thought about doing UFC reaction stream during the card? I have. I probably will do it sometime in the future. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that. Listen, Yuri versus Elberg. It's a close fight. It's dangerous for Yuri early. If Yuri survives round 1, though, he should probably be good. Strickland definitely has the skills to win, but he decides to not follow the game plan sometimes, like versus Alex. To be fair, against Fluffy, he followed the game plan very well. What's your opinion on Paranas? I'm not sure. I would have to look into it more. But like, the other promotion prospects are just not used to dealing with real levels of competition, and then they get thrown into real levels of competition. So if they were, because they never get built up like a regional guy would, right? So a regional guy will get incremental steps of progress until they fight someone good. So like, let's say that Tico fought, I don't know, what's a good example? Like a William Gomez to start, right? Something like that. And then maybe he could slowly build up and have done well. But they gave him immediately Murphy. And it's like, okay, you're giving him a top 5 guy or whatever he was at that time, right? So that's rough. We get early looks on Sleeper Banger, Amazon versus Alvarez. Then we should get an Alvarez finish, probably. So scared for Yuri, not gonna lie. Yeah, same to an extent. Pyfer versus Chimaev thoughts. I mean, seeing Pyfer get out wrestled in round 1 by what's his name? The guy who gasses out in 10 seconds. That wasn't encouraging. But maybe. Do you think Ethan Ewing can enter the top 15, the bantamweight class well-maker? I'd have to see much more from him, to be honest. How did Strickland not follow the game plan versus Alex? He just got chinned. Oh, he was supposed to shoot a takedown much earlier in the fight. Estevan versus Uri is even odds. It makes sense. You think if Yuri grapples in the first round, he wins? I think it increases his chances significantly. Do you get tired of the UFC having most prospects come through Dana White Contender Series and just being signed and proving themselves in their debut fight? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that. Do you think you get tired of UFC having... Do you want them to like go immediately into UFC or something else? I'm slightly confused. Usman versus BSD. BSD. Garcia versus Lopes. I am leaning Garcia, but very mildly. Are you nuking Verna at plus money? No, I don't trust her. I can't remember how hard Ulberg hits comparatively to other light heavyweights. Is there a possibility Yuri gets absolutely chinned? It's possible. I mean, it's possible early round one. He does hit hard. Tyra Omrokayev, Tyra for sure. Yuri ain't gonna grapple. Sometimes he does. We'll have to see. Who goes further, Smith or Talbot? I mean, Talbot's a lot more proven than Smith, so for now we'll say Talbot, but we have to see more. I always think about this, but who would win between Arman and Khabib, and who has the best chance between those two to beat Topuria? Khabib would win, and Khabib definitely has a better chance to beat Topuria as well. Did you watch the PFL tonight? Eblin beat Battle versus first round submission. Impagata KO versus Rasta. Oh god, Rasta, I guess, is wasn't Rasta supposed to be like the next big thing there? But I caught the end of Battle versus Eblin just now on stream. I didn't see the Impa versus Rasta. Brian Battle needs like 20 years of done forget fair. Does Topuria Gaethje go past round one? No. If God forbid Yuri got chinned, is it over for him? No, I mean, he could still beat the other guys for sure. It is a dangerous fight, though. Yuri has a granite chin whenever he's not fighting someone named Alex Pereira, though. Yeah, true. Ross is just a big juice out. Fair. I don't know. Topuria versus Michael Morales for when Islam vacates to go to middleweight. I'd probably pick Topuria over most welterweights, including him. You got in a fight between DDP or Imavov against Pyfer now that he's ranked top 5. I'd probably pick DDP and Imavov, but Pyfer's dangerous for anyone. Do you think Topuria can beat Islam at 170? I'm pretty sure he can at 155. Topuria will beat Islam no matter what weight class it is. He could beat him at 265 for all it matters. Good night, thank you, Oracle. Have a good night. Russ is juiced to the gills and gets to smash it. What? He can't win a fight to save his life, and Fabian is like a lesser dynamic version of his brother. At least Fabian goes for finishes, to be fair. I'm confused at what you're saying in the first half there, though. Do you think Topuria has the best chin in lightweight and welterweight right now? I mean, it's not, like, besides the head kick, it's not really proven, so hard to say. Also got KO'd twice in a row now. Too big a jump from battle from unranked UFC to the most dominant guy in PFL. Eblin beats Unsteelers at a rematch. Very possible. Rafik the Cheat. Yes, that's a good name. Did people forget Yuri was losing 2-0 for Khalil before the third? To be fair, Khalil's probably a little bit more technical in some regards than Ulberg is. What did Izzy do wrong today, in your opinion? I think he needed to fight a bit more calmly and not gas out, because he definitely wanted to finish. He wanted the fight to be over, and then his cardio started draining too quickly. I think UFC should book Silva versus Wong. Fair. Morales sleeps Islam. Sorry, national judo team, Olympian judoka family. I mean, if you're going to support your guy, fair enough. Did eat a pretty crazy elbow from Charles. That's true. Morales ain't beating Islam if you actually film study. I kind of agree. Yeah, I probably will pick Islam against Morales if that happens. But I have a slightly higher chance of picking Gary versus Islam. Not that I'm making a pick right now or anything. Khalil the OG Omar Sy. I mean, at least he fights till he gets flatlined. Khalil Chin might be gone. I don't think it's gone. I mean, he took a lot of big shots. But, okay, you're saying going forward, yeah, maybe it will be now that he just got, like, flatlined twice. I think Khalil also has more power than Ulberg. I wouldn't say he has more power, but I think he's a little bit more technical in the early rounds. I cannot seem to reconcile the logic behind Whitaker's move to light heavyweight. His chin is eroded badly. He's slowing down, which is the attribute that enables him to his style to work at the highest level. I mean, the benefit for him moving up is that now he will be even much faster compared to everyone else there. But yeah, I agree. It's probably not going to go well. You hear people saying, as you should fight Belgaroui, would you make that fight next? I mean, I guess you could run the storyline of like, okay, Izzy already beat him twice. Obviously, the rivalry between Izzy and Alex's camp and so on. You could. I just don't think it would be a very entertaining fight, to be honest. I think it would turn into a pretty boring point fight. Got the guy Bahamondes fight? Yeah, 100%. Gary or Islam? I'd probably lean Islam right now, but I could change my mind if I do tape study. What do you think of Arman competing in RF? I mean, it's fine. I don't have any strong opinions about it either way. You edit your own videos or does someone else do it? Yes, I edit my own videos. Did you watch RF? I did not. Yeah, I meant going forward. Sorry. Yeah, I get what you mean. No worries. When Strat 3 comes out, will the price of subscription stay the same? I haven't 100% decided yet. I'm leaning towards yes, but we will see. Cut Tofik, bro. Yes, I agree. Morales has complete understanding of judo, which is why he has a better edge than anyone else in the division. I mean, judo is not going to save your striking necessarily, but fair. You have a pick on Mycano versus Duncan? Yeah, not officially, no. Dude killed by a whole betting streak with one fence carve. Yeah, that was rough. I think Islam's camp also sees that Ilya is a terrible matchup for him. Khabib is always hyping up Arman and Bilal. Bulgarian conveniently forgot to wrestle until round 4. I mean, yeah, I don't know about the whole Bilal thing, but other than that, yeah, I do think Islam's camp knows that it's a terrible matchup for him. How do some fighters have more power? Is it genetics or form? It's a combination. Some of it is genetics, and some is, of course, how you transfer your weight and such. Who should Oral by fight next, in your opinion? I mean, let's look at the rankings here. I think guys rank shot, but maybe like a. I mean, Chandler's getting executed probably, and maybe Fiziev. Because Fiziev just got knocked out, so he should fight down. Yeah, maybe it should be Fiziev. I need to see Tofik versus Ilya for reasons. Same. I will settle for Torres, though. Gary is a more proven defensive wrestler than Morales. Yes, true. What welterweight would you pick to beat Islam? Of current welterweights, I don't know if I would pick any. If I was going to pick someone, it would probably be Gary. Thoughts on Ali saying Islam didn't accept fight versus Ilya because he was asleep when the UFC cards. That was hysterical, right? He first was like, "Oh, Islam's injured," then he's like, "Oh, Islam is asleep." He's obviously making excuses, yeah. Oral by is a welterweight. Oh yeah, my bad. Good point. I mean, if D-Rod is alive, give it to him. You could do MVP. If we're gonna have to suffer through MVP existing in the UFC, give him to Oral by, I guess. People saying Bilal wouldn't shoot even when he did. He had no success holding JDM for long. It's hard for wrestlers to repeatedly shoot without gassing. If Bilal wrestled early and failed, he would gas. Yeah, and he also wrestled more than people are pretending, right? He did wrestle in the early rounds. It's just, yeah, he didn't continuously chain wrestle because he was having no success, but he did wrestle. Dober versus Tofik, so at least one gets punished. That's a good idea as well. But the problem is one has to get a win then. We can arrange both to lose. Just kidding, we're all about Maul D-Rod. Yeah, for sure. It's Prada's chin JDM. I really feel like JDM's pillow punch boxing is overrated and he has to be perfect for 25. I mean, JDM has chinned a lot of people. I don't know. It's an interesting fight because, yeah, obviously JDM needs more to beat Prates than Prates does JDM. But I do feel like JDM is the more technical striker and could maintain forward pressure, which Prates can have problems with. So I am very 50-50 about the fight in my head right now. Oracle, thank you for streaming. I never get to catch your streams live. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Oral by versus MVP is like dying Ant versus Supernova. Valid. Shocked that we made it to an hour of a recap stream. Yeah, me too. Prates chins JDM soaks up damage to the face. I mean, he hasn't gotten hit in the face much, though. Julio versus Kopylov. After Kopylov's last performance, I don't know if I can pick him against, like, pretty much anyone decent. Ober versus Tofik. Double DQ from headbutt at the same time as a groin strike, apparently, yeah. I believe that Ali is ducking Ilya because he's going to miss out on Islam's paychecks. He loses belts. So he's just blatantly making Islam look like a coward. Yeah, very possible. But, I mean, I don't know if it's Ali or if it's Islam. I mean, who knows? It's hard to say. How does JDM hold up to the left body knee by Prates? I don't think that will be much of a tool for Prates in this fight, to be honest. Because I don't think, unless they have a really terrible game plan, I don't think JDM's going to be fighting, like, in the pocket or on the back foot. I think this is going to be like, okay, we're fighting, sorry, not in the pocket. I don't think it's going to be fighting in the clinch or on the back foot. So I think this is just going to be a boxing style fight for JDM on the front foot. Just seeing Islam fight someone bigger like Gary or Morales would be interesting to see. True. Leon was also the more technical striker. The range difference is scary though, and Prates can explode into range. It is true. But Leon also doesn't have any finishing ability, where JDM definitely does. JDM is the better boxer, but I don't know if I could trust him to knock a chin over 5 rounds on the feet. Yeah, you could be right. JDM, whether a storm and outwork Prates or just Prates the power that negates granite chins. If he's getting hit, he's screwed. Prates lands on anyone, they're going out. But could he TKO Prates moving forward? It's very possible. Thoughts on Gon versus Poetan? I think Alex should smoke him. JDM went life and death with Bilal. Prates will sleep him for sure. But to be fair, no one's really smoked Bilal. Like, the last person who really put it on Bilal was, like, Jeff Neal. That was a while ago. How far do you think John Pork's going to go into the rankings? He's not going to go into the rankings. He's going to bounce right off the rankings. Pyfer beats no one else in the top 10. I don't think that's true. I mean, Pyfer's not a bad fighter, right? He could sleep Cannonier. He could, he has a chance against Baralho for sure. Ilya or Ryan Garcia? In what? I mean, in MMA for sure, Ilya. In pure boxing, probably Ryan Garcia. Why do people act like Prates is insanely dangerous? He has a dangerous left hand, but he's horrible in the pocket and can be outboxed and outgrappled. JDM is way more skilled ever than Carlos Prates. I think Prates is insanely dangerous. He's also hittable, though. So I think that unless you're Gary and you can really like point fight pretty much perfectly, you want to put out Prates if you're going to win. I don't think Islam cares if he understands Russian interviews for Ilya, but Ali is scared. Fair. JDM will probably not try to body jab, as that is mostly anti-wrestling. Yeah, I don't think he should body jab for sure. People overrate Izzy because of how flashy he is. I am people. Fair enough. Chanko is so overrated, man. Yeah, for sure. Taporia versus Usyk is the fight to make. Ilya by round 1 KO. I mean, if it was MMA, he could get a sub probably. JDM doesn't have good circle movement to avoid Prates. I mean, if JDM is on the back foot, he's definitely going to lose. The question is what is on the front foot. Prates versus Shavkat, who wins? I'd lean Prates. Thoughts on Jeff Neal pre-sepsis? I mean, he was good. He was definitely very good. Yuri versus Hendo in his prime? I'd take Yuri. Shavkat destroys Prates as long as we're talking about Shavkat, though we've seen him for the injury. I mean, Shavkat was one of the most hittable fighters on the roster. I don't think you could do that against Prates. If he couldn't get a takedown very quickly, he'd be doomed. Barelho went to a close decision with Imavov. I think he's a level above Pyfer. I mean, he went to a decision. Would we really call it close? Wasn't it like a 50-45? Am I going crazy? Let's see here. He was 49-46, right? One judge scored it 50-45. So I wouldn't call it a close decision, but I think I had it 50-45, to be honest. I don't remember Baralho having really any success. I guess like by the stats, it looks like in round 3 he had a little bit, but Shavkat has a chin to eat the shot. His head is literally a rectangular prism blockhead chin, just like Diego Lopes. And Shavkat got rocked badly by Jeff Neal. Let's not forget that. Do you think JDM will try to grapple Prates? No, I don't really think so. If Islam can't take Gary down, the fight gets interesting. Gary has very bad head movement, though, and I think Islam can strike him. Gary teeps and leg kicks are nice. He's rangy. If Islam can't take Gary down, it depends how much the threat of the takedown is discouraging the striking. Because if Gary can strike like he always strikes, then Gary will win. But will that actually happen? Who knows? Adesanya looked really good tonight. If he kept the distance and kept killing the lead like he would have won, rip his IQ though. I mean, the problem is he gassed out. So that would, if he had the cardio to go 5 rounds, yeah, but no. Kyle lost almost every round against an Imavov with 1 foot. Yeah, that's what I remember as well. Is there anyone that would chin MVP? Go give me hope, man. I mean, there's plenty of people who would chin MVP. I just don't know if any of them are realistic matchups. Like, Uros Medic would probably chin him, though you can't be sure, of course. Buckley would have a solid chance of chinning him. Peraltas would chin him. Morales would probably chin him. Rain 5 could go to Kyle. 5 looks a little close, but Imavov also has more power. I'd have to rewatch that round to see. 3, fair. The stats definitely support Kyle winning round 3. Thoughts on Volk versus Mobzar? I think Silva's a much bigger threat to Volk. Yeah, Mobzar has no chance against Kyle cutting to 185 both times in a couple of weeks before the most important fight of his life was genuinely done. Yes, but also after seeing Kyle fight RDR, I can't be as high on Kyle. It was just such a bad performance. Gary defended 12 out of 14 takedowns from Shavkat and Bilal pretty easily. True, yes. Do you think Silva actually retires if he loses to Volk? No, I don't. Who knows? Marab or Jan? I'm still probably picking Marab in the trilogy, but we'll see. MVP or Robocop? Probably Robocop. I think he'd just get him down. Future with Atwell going? What do you mean? What's that? Would you pick Shavkat to beat Islam if he was healthy? Not really. I don't think so. Do you rate Brady's wrestling against Buckley? He looks so bad against Morales. I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to feel either. I'm gonna have to like rewatch some fights and see what I see. Alkit versus Blades. I have Blades tentatively. Skill level between the top 3 guys at middleweight. Rest so stark. Yeah, true. How could you pick Marab in a trilogy? Yanez is a way more skilled and Marab can't take him down. He's been figured out. A lot of people think that, yet the betting odds still favor Marab for a reason, right? What I saw in the second fight was not Marab getting figured out. It was more so Marab going way too hard for a finish. I don't think that's going to happen in a third fight. I think he's going to be very satisfied with even a 48-47 win. And I think that he has the ability to fight a very bad style for Jan. I think that's what's going to happen. I think people are going to be very disappointed with the trilogy because I think it's going to be a very smudge decision, probably 49-46. Betting odds don't mean anything. No, they definitely do. Because Vegas is, again, not just giving out free money. If they open someone as the favorite, they do it for a reason. Will you be game planning with them? Or you mean as well? Probably not. Like, if I get asked to and I get some, like, incredible... If I get paid, sure. If I get some incredible assurance that, like, he's going to follow it to a T, maybe. But at this point, I would probably need to get paid. Do you think Marab didn't use the calf kicks as well because of the game plan or because they were defended well? I mean, he didn't try it at all, so he didn't even get a chance to see if it was defended well. So I think it was just the game plan. I also think Marab went and overconfident, also fought 4 or 5 times that year. Yeah, that as well. Do you think Marab can finish Jan? Not at this point. How do you feel about UFC's matchmaking recently? I feel like things have changed since Paramount. It's gotten kind of weird, yeah. Now we have a lot more massive favorites than we did before, and I don't love it. Anyone fighting RDR looks bad somehow. I mean, I wouldn't say Brendan Allen looked very bad. Also in Prime Jacare versus Hamzat. Prime Jacare would have a chance, for sure. You didn't get paid? No, I did as a favor. What's the odds on the trilogy? Let's see. I don't think it's on DraftKings yet, but let's see if I can find a futures. I'll have to figure out where it is, but I remember someone sending me something where he was plus 150, I think, starting. Rob's biggest mistake in the rematch is being very confident in striking and also not noticing Jan never uses right hand in the first fight. He's getting surprised by it a lot. Yeah, and Rob made a lot of mistakes in the second. Jan was still looking tired in the second fight. I got to check the stats and rematches, which is valid, yeah. Rob or Tyra? Tyra. What do you think of the Yanez versus Simone fight? Ridiculous judging, in my opinion. So I went into that early in the stream. I didn't think it was the worst judging possible. Now, I did have Yanez winning, but I thought that a lot of people were saying that Yanez got round one. I disagreed with that heavily. I thought Simone very clearly won round one because it was very close until about the last 30 seconds, and then Simone rocked him. And that made it a clear Simone round, in my opinion. However, round two was more interesting because despite the takedowns, I felt like Yanez was doing more damage for the entirety of the round, in all honesty. So I thought that Yanez edged round two, but it was a very close round, and obviously he took round three. So I gave it to him off of that. But a lot of people gave Simone round two. So if a lot of people are giving Simone round two, we can't be shocked that the judges did as well. Brendan Allen was 10-8 in the first round. I mean, I don't think so. He was controlled a lot, but he wasn't really like taking crazy damage. Romulo would smoke these current middlemates. Some of them for sure. I'm an MMA fighter now. If I get to the UFC ever, I'm paying you a bag to help trust. Fair enough. I mean, best of luck getting there then. And obviously just put in the work and you'll get there. Are you a college graduate? Yes, I did graduate college. Oracle, who would you reckon has a better chance at Tyra, Cav, or Van? Honestly, I'd probably lean Cav by a mild margin. But I think Tyra will probably finish both of them, to be honest. Tyra could be a double champion. People underrating him. He beats Van and Rob. He beats pretty much everyone in those divisions, yeah. Rob is annoying to watch sometimes, and his lack of BJJ doesn't really help him. I think he's been more entertaining in the last few, but I do get what you mean. Why do you think McKinney looks so much worse against Dariush than he did against BSD? I mean, I feel like people really are forgetting that BSD literally went into that fight without a camp or like coaches or pretty much anything. He was at such a weird point in his career that he just was not there. Oracle versus Guru in a 5-rounder. I'll take my chances. Will you ever bet against Topuria, Islam, or Hamzat? I mean, I definitely might bet against Islam if Topuria versus Islam happens. Hamzat, if there's enough value on Strickland, I might. We'll see. How confident are you in Salkield finishing Dariush? I'm super confident. I'm not as confident as most people. Salkield looked terrible against Malarkey, which I know sounds weird because he finished him fairly easily, but I did not like what I was seeing. Oracle, if Matt Chanel moved up to 145 with each and John. Crazy. Not entertainment-wise, his lack of control really pisses me off for some reason. Oh, fair. Skill-wise, I get what you're saying. Just how good is Hinato Moicano? I mean, he's not bad, but he's solid. He's just not... He's old now, let's put it that way. Moicano looked good in round one, but he got taken down and gassed in round two. Yeah, he definitely did gas out. Tybura versus Walter. Walter will collect another foot. What did you study in college? I'll go into that in another stream, maybe. Please do not burn money putting it on Strickland. I mean, that's what people said when I bet on Strickland versus Fluffy. It worked out pretty well. That being said, I'm a lot less confident here, to say the least, but we'll see. Oracle versus Keith betting odds. I don't think anyone would bet against me with how I would come into that fight. I think Dariush can win. If he just doesn't brawl, he probably will. I don't think Dariush is going to brawl, but he might get caught because he's definitely getting slower. I'm going to head out and pray Keith Peterson gets his valid. Have a good one. Do you think Volter could legit heel hook his way to a belt because no heavyweights can grapple? I mean, he could definitely get to top 5 by heel hooks. I would not be surprised. Hamza versus Sean. I got Hamza by 50-45. I'm probably leaning Hamza decision, yeah. Strickland is plus 500, which is insane. Yeah, it's a little excessive. Armin will humble Ilya. Armin has 0 chance against Ilya. No, Ilya will chin Armin under half a round. Like, Armin's not bad, but he's definitely getting overrated. What's your main event picks rate for this year? I could check. Let's see. I got... Where are we? So this year starts with Keiichi versus Pamblet. I got that one wrong, so 0-1. I got Volk right, so 1-1. I got Bautista right, 2-1. Strickland right, 3-1. Moreno wrong, 3-2. Holloway wrong, 3-3. I got Vallejos right, Avloyev right, and Pyfer right. So I'm 6-3 right now on main events. Charles or Volk at 55. Right now, Charles, I think. Armin got humbled by Gamrot. Yeah, exactly. Armin's not that good. Armin's insanely overrated. It's mostly people who desperately hope he can manage to stop Ilya before he gets to Chin Islam. Yeah, 100%. Ilya wants no smoke. He will literally vacate the belt before fighting him. I mean, he literally tried to call out Armin, and Joe Rogan had other ideas, so. Armin's coach said he has a fight lined up. I think it's probably BSD. Who are you picking? Armin should win that on paper. Will I pick BSD anyways? Maybe. Do you agree that Hamzat hasn't finished anyone great? Yeah, 100%. The Whitaker fight was a pre-existing injury, as you're saying. And against like good fighters who don't have something like that, he's not had the most finishing ability. If Armin's name was more American, he would be said to have no chance versus Ilya. People just hear the name and glaze. True. Ilya scared of Gamrot. Gamrot goat. Gamrot undefeated. Polish power. Valid. I think Izzy was pretty concussed before the brawl. He got hit by some massive shots, and Pyfer was just trying to get in his face. Yeah, I mean, he definitely landed some big left hooks before that, so. And he was slowing down. How can you say he's overrated when he's the only one to competitively wrestle Islam, and that was in 2019? I mean, you could also flip it that way and say he got continuously out-wrestled by Gamrot, right? So just measuring based off of one fight doesn't really do much, in my opinion. How far does Iwo go? He's fun. In terms of can he get ranked? I don't know. We'll have to see how he progresses because we haven't seen him tested at all. The straight facts, Ilya ducking him. Ilya literally tried to call him out. You can't be ducking someone if you just tried to call them out. That's not how ducking works. Gamrot gonna master cast Riva Vix and take down defense is bad. Yeah, I kind of agree. Pyfer surprised me with how fast he threw strikes. I remember him being a bit lumbering with punches. Pyfer's overhands are so ridiculously fast. It's actually insane. On my life, I've fallen asleep to your lives because they're very soothing. Glad to hear it, I think. Ilya's ducky, so when they got clipped by Joakim Silva and lost the camera. Interesting. Yeah, exactly. Ilya's ducking Armin by asking for Islam. Yeah, exactly. The whole like ducking thing is ridiculous. How does Robbie Lawler do against the current welterweights? He could maybe beat a few, but not great overall. Do you think JDM could beat Pyfer while being a welterweight? Not really, to be honest. It's possible, but not really. Which fighters in the UFC would do the best in freestyle wrestling? Freestyle wrestling? Probably like Gamrot. Ira. Who else? Chimaev as well, for sure. Did you experience Prime Fortnite? A little bit. I tried it a few times, but never got really deep into it. Does Navajo Sterling get top 5? I doubt it. I don't think so. Two things can be right at once. I mean, not when they literally contradict each other. You can't be, if you call out someone, you can't be ducking them. This really does not work. Loki Kutalaba could fraud check Navajo. I wouldn't be shocked. Does Charles beat Armin in a rematch? I mean, I thought he beat him the first time, so yeah, I'd pick him again. He just said he falls asleep to your streams. You're really going to take that? I would take as a compliment. Do you play UFC 5 and are you looking towards to UFC 6? I've never played the UFC games, to be honest, so I don't know. Are you surprised at most on this card? Honestly, Casey, even though I expected her to win, and even though I bet her by TKO, it was much better than I expected. Or maybe Grasso. Yeah, no, because at least like I thought that Casey could get a TKO, right? Grasso is not expecting to get a TKO. So let's say Grasso, actually. Volk versus Mobzar prediction. Volk either 50-45 or like a late TKO. Grasso looks like the Grim Reaper. That was surprising and impressive. Her power has developed a lot. Like, if we look at her fights, oops, there we go. She has 2 knockdowns in the last 4 fights. Before that, 0 knockdowns in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 fights. So she gets a knockdown on Valentina and Barber, and well, I don't rate Barber that highly. She's not bad either. Well, when she didn't knock down Viviani Ariarujo over 5 rounds. So her powers developed like crazy. You give quick predictions for my Kano versus Duncan card. I mean, I haven't done tape, but like, if you want my pre-tape opinions, right, take these with a massive grain of salt. I'd probably go Barbosa, Bakoyev, Alice Pereira, Lando Venata, or I should say who they're beating because I don't even have it on screen. I picked Barbosa to beat Gatto, Bakoyev to beat Core, Alice Pereira to beat Haley Cohen, Lando Venata to beat Darius Flowers, Alessandro Costa to beat Stuart Nicole, Jose Delano to beat Robert Rochella, Jeremy Pat to beat Thomas Peterson, Charles Radke. Yeah, who is? Oh, yeah, no. Charles Radke to beat Jose Enrique. Tommy McMillan to beat whatever his name is, Monlo Ziccini, something. Rafael Estevan to beat Ethan Ewing. Yakiayev to beat Ribeiro. I think I'm going to lean Richie to beat Jandaroba very tentatively. And Duncan to beat Moicano. Radke isn't on the card anymore. He's fighting Francisco Prado on 327 early prelims. Oh yeah, they love to not update the website for forever. Why Richie over Jandaroba? Richie has pretty good anti-wrestling, and I don't trust Jandaroba to strike with her. Especially when we just watched Mackenzie Dern outstrike for Verna Jandaroba. So, I mean, Tabitha Richie, I mean, it's hard to say, right? I'll have to do tape for that. I might change my mind. But Richie is pretty good on the feet. Not great, but she's good. And she has a way of shutting down the wrestling. Like, for example, she has the win over Jillian Robertson, right? And it's just because Robertson couldn't get any of the wrestling off, and Richie was just a little bit better on the feet, stuff like that. Thoughts on future Harrison versus Nunes matchup? I'll probably take Harrison, but I don't know because the weight cut really does seem to kill her. I'm honestly hyped to see Ethan fight again. Him versus Wellmaker was the upset of the year, in my opinion. I think that we may see that it kind of overrated him a little bit. We'll see though. Gender Buzz quality wins, but you might be right. Yeah, thanks. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, not happens. I remember when Duncan got subbed by Manuel Torres, felt like so long ago, but it was only February 2024. Duncan's really active. Even though I hate Duncan's style, I mean, there's a lot of good things going for him here. Yeah, 4 wins since 2024. It's pretty solid. 3 fights in 2025. From what I've heard, Moicano specifically asked for Duncan and they trained together. He probably thinks it's not so tough a fight, not saying that's the case though. I mean, I get why. Duncan's style seems like he should be beatable by pretty much anyone decent, but he finds a way to win. Why do you hate Duncan's style? It's very slow and lumbering. His defense isn't spectacular. He gets hit a lot. It's just, overall, there's a lot of issues. Alright. Stream has went on longer than I intended to, but I do appreciate you guys being here. Thank you all for coming. It was nice doing the recap stream right after the event so we can jump into the breakdown a little faster next time. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you again for being here. Hope you guys enjoyed the event more than I did, in all honesty. And I will see you guys